solid numbers, and I think the outlook for this year is, sort of for more of the same. I think there's a sort of Cadillac Escalade size, caveat to all this, which is that their forecasts, they don't take into account the potential risk of tariffs from the Trump administration. And I think that's going to be something that, gets talked about quite a bit with analysts today, is kind of, trying to get arms around, just how much risk there is here. Particularly, I would say, on the tariffs, that Trump has threatened Canada and Mexico with, because that would be really disruptive even to U.S. car makers like GM and Ford. And so that's something that I think, investors are really kind of braced for, and maybe, reluctant to dip into these stocks until they are more comfortable with, just how much risk there is there.
Yeah, CFO Paul Jacobson has a tall task as he comes out before this and says, we've been preparing for that. We've got a pretty extensive playbook. There's another risk here, which is the whole idea of autonomous driving and some of the valuations that you're seeing at the likes of Tesla, and questions around how General Motors competes at a time where a lot of people says this will be the vanguard. How do you see them discussing that at a time where it still could be a loss center?
Yeah, I mean, I think they took steps late last year to really kind of wave the white flag, I would say. They decided to basically pull the plug on trying to make the robo-taxi business work, which, is pretty remarkable to see, Tesla continue to have, such a valuation premium, despite the fact that they, were quite a bit behind GM's, Cruise unit in terms of actually getting cars onto the road and proving out, the technology. I think GM, managed to make some progress in terms of commercializing that business, getting it to where, they were starting to collect fares. But the problem is that, there's very little sort of forgiveness for mistakes with this technology. When you have a robot in control of a car and something bad happens, in this case, it was another car hitting a pedestrian, and that pedestrian sort of, glancing off another vehicle into a Cruise vehicle. It led to this crisis that ultimately, forced GM Cruise cars off the road, and really was sort of Cruise's undoing. And so they've decided to fold that business into GM and kind of focus more so on driver assistance systems, and really sort of put off the question of robo-taxis. I think betting that this is going to be something that, is going to be a loss center for other companies, and going to take, maybe a decade or more to really, reach scale.